Impact Radio 102.1 FM. Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, Nigeria. Welcome to the newspaper review right here on the Urban Lifestyle Station, where we analyze all of the stories that are made front page in some of the dailies that we have with us today. On the newspaper review, we try to make it our business to make you understand all of the stories that are making waves on the front page. And of course, we try to make sure it's simple for you. We try to make sure it's easy for you to understand. And that is going to be our mission right here today. You can always be a part of the conversation if you're on all our social media handles. That is on X, FKA, Twitter, on Instagram, and on TikTok at impact 1021 FM. We're on Facebook at impact radio 102.1 FM. We are live on YouTube at impact 102.1 FM. That is HI Impact 102.1 FM. In case you just joined us, it is the newspaper review right here on our Impact Radio 102.1 FM, the station that makes sure you get all of the stories as you need them. And of course, we will be starting today's papers with the Guardian newspaper. We'll try to be as concise as possible as we are really not in time. And so we'll go straight into it. The Guardian newspaper leads with this one. It says Labour laments high cost of living, voices for wage renegotiation. You find that story on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. That cannot be overemphasized about how high it is to survive right now in Nigeria. It is really expensive. Let's see how that one pans out for the Labour Union. Beside that one, Huriwa condemns systematic dismantling of democratic structures in Rivers State. You find that story on page 8 of the Guardian newspaper. Underneath it, UN Chief Sanusi offers to remember Chibok girls 2 in London. Okay, I take that one more time. UN Chief Sanusi offers to remember Chibok girls at 11 in London. It's been 11 years. Man, it's really scary, and it just shows you how deep our insecurity is. It shows you how deep, how far it has come. It's been 11 years of the Chibok girls. So many other people have gone that way, and none of them have been back home ever since. Well, some of the Chibok girls definitely came back home, but is that all of them? Where are the rest of our girls? What has happened to them? Anyways, moving on. Labour leaders allege FG exploitation. Petition ILO UN. You find that story on page 5. Code of Conduct review to check corruption with ERSET's declaration system. Page 7 is where you will see that story this morning. Jega folds varsities over rash of honorary awards to unworthy characters. That story you see on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper, just underneath the nameplate of the Guardian this morning. 2027, ADP admits gang up to unseat Tinubu as Uzodinma dismisses coalition. You find that story on page 3. Beside it, nothing new to review. Presidency dismisses U.S. court on Tinubu's drug case. That story you find on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. And finally, on the Guardian newspaper this morning, Ndume raises alarm over renewed Boko Haram attacks in Borno, seizure of local government areas. You find that story on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. That can never be overemphasized. Like I said, insecurity doesn't seem to be coming to an end, and it seems it's bringing its ugly head higher and higher than it used to be before. Every second of the day is the same story we keep hearing in the different parts of Nigeria, not only in the northeast or the northwest. Different parts of Nigeria, you go to the southeast, you go to the southwest, insecurity everywhere. South, it is crazy. And you ask, what is being done to curb all of this? What is being done to make sure that Nigerians feel safe in their own country? Man, that's the much we can take for the Guardian this morning. From the Guardian straight to the Daily Trust this morning. It leads with a big one, and it says, why U.S. court ordered release of Tinubu probe report. Two writers to that story this morning. Nothing new to be reviewed, that's according to presidency. Ruling amenable to appeal, that's according to lawyers. That story you can find on page 4 of the Daily Trust this morning. You get to see a huge image of the Nigerian Correctional Facility right here on the front page. And it's talking about, the custodian claims in Kano State. So you need to go look at that one. It's, man, so many things. Gruesome sight here. And okay, so underneath that one, you see, our food worse than dogs. That's according to inmates. Gruesome state if you look at the conditions of the correctional facilities at which we have in our country at the moment. Then you ask yourself a really vital question. If going into the correctional facilities are indeed you're indeed going there for you to be corrected, for you to be rehabilitated, with the state of our correctional facilities, is it really possible for someone to go in there and come out rehabilitated? You see the headline leading here, it says our food worse than the ones of dogs. That's according to inmates. Most of them can't sleep on good surfaces. The places where they sleep is worse. The places where they go to, defecate, I can't imagine. Looking out from the building itself, if you look out from the building itself when you're going into these correctional facilities, on how dilapidated this building looks, then you will wonder how inside feels like. And it's really, really wrong. In as much as, yes, these people committed crimes, which is why, they were found guilty of crimes, which is why they were remanded in the first place. But the mission is to rehabilitate them, so as one day they will come back into the society and can easily, live with the people in the society and do not have to go back to the reasons why they were remanded in the first place. But the conditions of those places, you think any rehabilitation will be done? Man. Well, hopefully the government is going to look into this and finally do something about it. Because if we are being honest with ourselves, this is not a conversation that's been discussed for 10 years. This is not a conversation that's been discussed for 20 years. It has been a long time coming. That's over 2 decades. Something needs to be done. We need to move to where actions are carried out rather than talk, and committees are set up, subcommittees set up to look into these, committees set up to look into that. Actions need to be carried out. Two writers to that story. They are starving us to death. FG panel. It's exaggeration. The NCOS. Well, so you go look at page 11, page 6 and 7, I beg your pardon, of the Daily Trust for you to find out what that one is all about this morning. Just underneath the nameplate of the Daily Trust today, why politicians are scrambling for Buhari's nod ahead 2027. Page 14. Beside it, bandits raise mosque, health center, 10 houses in Zamfara. That story you find on page 52. And beside that one, finally on the Daily Trust, victorious 1980 AFCON squad, Chuku, Bassi, 7 others gone, 13 remaining. That story you find on page 55 of the Daily Trust. And it is really, really sad one. We lost one of the most amazing gaffer the Super Eagles have seen in the person of Christian Chuku. May God rest his soul and grant the family to the fortitude to bear the loss. That's the much for the Daily Trust. From the Daily Trust straight to the Punch newspaper. But before that, remember you can be with us on all social media platforms. We are on X, FKA, Twitter. We're on Instagram. We are on TikTok at impact 1021 FM. That is HR Impact 1021 FM. We are on Facebook at impact Radio 102.1 FM. And of course, we are live on YouTube at impact 102.1 FM. You can reach us via our calls 0708 424 5018, or you can reach us via WhatsApp or the regular text message on 0907 224 5018. The Punch newspaper says battle for Rivers. I like how it leads with that one. Battle for Rivers. AGF moves to defend Tinubu as PDP governors mobilize 11 sands. You find that story on page 5 of the Guardian news, the Punch newspaper, I beg your pardon, and that is page 8 of the Punch. Underneath it, one writer to that story, it says Fagbemi drafts Supreme Court response, PDP berates president. Ibas Tompolo hints at Fubara's return. That one you see on page 8 of the Punch newspaper. So many things going on in Rivers State over the weekend. We saw a protest by women in Rivers State talking about how their son Fubara needs to return and how a state of emergency needs to come to an end. Also, we've seen, the PDP talking tough, taking it to court. The AGF ready to defend the federal government in court. So many things is going to pan out like we have always said from the get-go. This will be something for a long time. Something that could end before the 6-month tenure expires, before the 6-month, suspension is done, or it's something that will continue even after the 6-month suspension. But all we have is time on our hands, and we're definitely going to find out. Finally, on the Punch newspaper this morning, not finally, the next story which we have, I'm sorry about. Autonomy. 774 local governments challenge FG states in court Tuesday. 774 local governments challenge FG states in court Tuesday. We find that one on page 8. And since the local government autonomy has been signed into law, it has been a back and forth thingy. I would think that once a local government autonomy has been signed into law, that everything was going to kickstart. But it seems it doesn't work that way. It seems it's not a straightforward thing here after all, because since the federal government, since the presidency has ascended to it, I thought it was just going to kick off. But no, the back and forth continues, and now the local governments and states and the federal government are going to be in court on Tuesday. So let's see how that one pans out. We've seen the CBN talking about stringent rules at which local government areas can open, bank accounts so that their funds will be allocated directly to them. We've seen governors move to, blockade the opening of those bank accounts by the local government areas. So many things. But the court, we hope on Tuesday, we put an end to all the shenanigans going on, and finally, local government autonomy can kick off properly. Beside that one, Presidency dismissed U.S. court order on Tinubu. Atiku differs. That's the we find on page 8. Underneath it, FG rolls out flood preparedness campaign in 30 high-risk states. Page 7 is where that story is. And finally, above the nameplate of the Punch newspaper this morning, Abdul Karim's anti-Tinubu song gains streams as Soyinka slams NBC. Page 14 is where that story is on the Punch newspaper. And that's the much for the Punch. Moving to our final paper of the day. It is the Vanguard. And of course, the Vanguard leading with the biggest story of the day. U.S. court order on Tinubu. Yes, that's the big story which it leads with. Nothing new in FBI DEA records on drug case. Presidency says court didn't indict president. You find that story on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper this morning, and underneath it you get to see a huge picture of the Delta APC chieftain host Ganduje right here on the Vanguard newspaper. Beside that one, 2027 Tinubu moves to halt APC members defection from CPC bloc. That's according to sources. Wow, the sources, well, only Vanguard knows. So for you to find out what the sources are saying this morning, on page 9 of the Vanguard, you need to go look at it. Soyinka slams NBC for banning Idris Abdul Karim song. It is on page 8. Palm Sunday, Khan condemns Plateau killings, demand justice. Story on page 50 of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Underneath it, PDP governors meet over Fubara as Tompolo assures of his return. That story you find on page 12 of the Vanguard newspaper. And now you ask yourself, who's Tompolo in the scheme of things to assure that definitely, the governor will be back on seat? Does he know things we do not know? Does he have the ears of the president? Does he have what exactly? Who exactly? And how exactly does Tompolo play part in all of this? Well, let's see how that one pans out at the end of the day. Above the nameplate of the Vanguard this morning, it goes this way. Vanguard economic discourse, tariff, economic instability, job losses, forex inflow loom. That one is according to Nasima. It has one writer. FG needs to turn adversity to opportunity. Adopt viable, affordable, homegrown democracy. NPA should forget 15% fee hike. That's according to Man. And it's simple. What they're trying to say on all of this, as the tariff war goes on in the world right now, majorly between the US and China, as China has officially increased their tariff to 155% on US products, and we've also seen, China halting some viable, scarce, mineral material, which it has stopped from moving out of their country to the US. We've seen China all over the social media trending videos of how they are the ones who manufacture most of the brand, top luxury brands, and ready to offer free shippings and all of that. So many things that China has done ever since this whole tariff war has begun, and it's beginning to open the eyes of so many people. Like, oh, okay. So it's crazy. Nigeria needs to take advantage of all of this. In this situation, what can we do to place ourselves in a favorable market? What are the opportunities we can take to make sure that this favors us rather than being at the losing end? Do we have to, swing over to one side of the fence so as to make sure that, hey, we gain favor that pleases the Nigerian people, not just favor that just pleases the elites, that pleases the Nigerian people, where the Nigerian people can gain from it economically, So we need to take advantage of what is going on and find out how best it can favor us rather than just sit on the fence and watch how things pans out between these great nations. These are nations that we have the market. We have the market. We're over 200 million Nigerians strong. We have the market. And so it depends on how we play our cards that will determine if we come out of this at the winning side or the losing side, or basically just sitting in between. Anyways, finally, on the Vanguard newspaper this morning, it says Army decries poor Igbo youths enlistment in military service. Army decries poor Igbo youths enlistment in military service. You find that story on page 51 of the Vanguard newspaper, and the Vanguard lead, ends with a sad story at the sports corner, where it says Chukwu exit of a field marshal. You could say nothing less. He did amazingly well. Took us to two World Cups without even qualifying us to two World Cups. Never got to be coach for any of those World Cups. Really, really sad one. And it goes to show that we need to celebrate our own more, because we do not know when we might lose them. We do not know when there might be no more. What have we done to celebrate those ones who have given their all just to make sure that whatever they are doing for Nigeria, they are doing their absolute best? It's really important that this kind of people are celebrated every single day that we have the opportunity to do so. And on that note, it's how we call it an end on today's edition of the newspaper review right here on iMpact Radio 102.1 FM. It was definitely an honor to be in your ears this morning. And of course, when we come again tomorrow for another exciting edition of the newspaper review, always remember to always do the right things. And once you do the right things, hopefully others who are around you will learn and also pitch in to do the right things. My name is Uche Okorie. Have yourself a beautiful, beautiful Monday.